today with me Raul. Raul, why don't you give us your first name, last name, and what you've done in the gaming world, video gaming world, and where you are located right now and where you are quarantined, etc. And just a little bit about yourself.
Of course. Well, thanks for having me here, Ari. Um, my name is Raul Gonzalez, and I am quarantined in New York City in Manhattan. Sunny day, you wouldn't believe it, but it's beautiful, right? um, Beautiful out there. Unfortunately, can't really go out too much. But fortunately, we got all the video game, world, the esports side that we can do,
Right.
and so that's what we're here to talk about, right? My experience in the gaming world has been predominantly with EA Sports FIFA. I actually came from advertising agency background, and I started working with EA as a client back in 2003, specifically with FIFA. Um, and I was heading that account and specifically for the U.S. Hispanic market. How to bring that game. No, not a lot of people were talking to the U.S. Hispanic market about video games. As a matter of fact, back then when Telemundo had just launched Mundos, and they were trying to launch a video gaming segment because there were no others in the Hispanic world. So they were also consulting with us for that, and we were the first ones to bring in a lot of video gaming content with FIFA, and then with a couple of other EA titles as well. But my trajectory really spanned mostly through EA Sports FIFA. Like I said, I started mostly in the U.S. Hispanic side, then transitioned a little bit into more of the lifestyle side on the marketing side, marketing and PR side. But also talking with developers. I got to know the folks at EA fairly well. It was great to be kind of like part of the FIFA team. It was a great time, I think, for FIFA. This was back when 2004, we started to get some of the Mexican leagues in there, and the game really started to do phenomenally well in the US. So I worked with them, like I said, on the marketing side, but also kind of very closely developing the community as well. This was the time when really competitive esports, especially with FIFA, started to take form, when you could compete online, and this was before the Ultimate Team mode on FIFA. From there, I worked with them with EA for over a decade, probably 12, 13 years, with the agency. And then after the agency, I was a freelance consultant with them. With EA, worked on FIFA Street, on UFC, but FIFA was kind of like the core of it. Then working a lot with communities, with not just Hispanic, but with a lot of lifestyle, bringing in the music side of it as well. We worked a phenomenal campaign with Snoop Dogg and identifying all these celebrities and athletes that were really into the video games, and started to play competitively and started to do a lot of fun stuff around that as well. Then fast forward, I started to kind of become interested on the esports side of things, on the competitive gaming side of FIFA, as that developed more and more, and obviously peaked into League of Legends and a couple of the others as well. But and now, many years after, now I'm consulting with a company called Avantage Entertainment. We've been around for about 2 years, and we're about to launch. And this is a sports book company, a company that's launching a couple of different sports book competitions, right? So most of these, the first one was focused on Premier League. And then, when I came in, I told them as well, let's, FIFA is a great opportunity. It's a great market. I know a lot of people there, the community, and obviously the competitive.
You're actually doing both. You're actually doing conventional and esports. So conventional sports and esports. So the Premier League is conventional, and FIFA.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this particular sport, the sports wagering company, you're helping them integrate the Premier League and the FIFA.
Correct.
Good.
Correct. So it was, and we've done already a lot of tests on that. A lot of more close, I guess, close tests with a lot of FIFA communities, a lot of the FIFA influencers. We're really diving deep into that. Um, but the beautiful thing is that going from Premier League, from the actual sport to the e-sport, in the case of FIFA, it's very similar. I mean, there's obviously a couple of little bits and pieces of differences in the way, especially the tournaments are created. But in terms of the wagering, the markets that we have, they're very similar. Our biggest challenge with FIFA markets, though, as opposed to like CSGO or League of Legends, where the publishers make that data, those statistics available. EA doesn't touch that. EA does not make any of its data available to third parties. And
you have to go by just basically just throwing out a net and hoping you're catching some FIFA fans.
well, yeah, it's a little more than just a net. I mean, we're kind of the idea was to start pioneering. Luckily, we have some a team and some funds to do this, so we started hiring spotters, the old-fashioned way to watch some of these competitive gamers. I was identifying. I mean, the better part of this year I've been dedicated to really kind of following who are the best FIFA gamers who pull the most viewership and who make the most sense to kind of wager on. And it's based on a number of things, on viewership, the prize money earned on various tournaments. And what you realize, it's really that it's your top 5 or 10 that are pulling in the majority of the viewership, and they're becoming a little bit of stars. But behind that, you have a huge community that they are, watching the games because they want to be like them.
So has the app launched yet, the wagering app?
We've launched a lot of betas for it. And we're actually going to launch one this coming weekend with some FIFA tournaments. I mean, for us, when COVID-19, when the whole quarantine and Premier League thing happened, I mean, to me, the first, I called my boss immediately. I'm like, this is the time to go full on FIFA. And he said, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So luckily,
you have no conventional sports going on right now.
No conventional sports, and this was the time to kind of, start learning a little bit more about FIFA. The challenges that we face with like with my company and a lot of the agencies that we have is that not everybody knows a lot about esports. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, and then of course, from the other side, from the esports side, there's also skepticism. We come across that a lot, and then I don't blame them at all. So what I'm hoping to do really, my goal is to be able to integrate what we're doing with my company with the wagering in a way that's genuine and authentic to the community as well, so the community doesn't feel like they're just being exploited.
Right. No, well, that's very careful. You have to be very careful when you do this. So, one of my questions was, so obviously you just answered it. The question was like, how has the pandemic impacted your industry? And, you guys have been able to pivot because you had FIFA as one of the launching parts of your app to bet on. So that's probably going to be the first and foremost thing you're going to be featuring. Obviously, you can't feature Premier League because it's
right.
not operable. So also, these interviews we're doing and talking to all the people who are going to be speaking at the CEC in Las Vegas, this is really to help the casino industry understand how they can pivot their business. And their business is already pivoting, and there's, it's everywhere now. So some casinos, they've all closed around the world. Casinos have closed around the world. And the only way they are making money is from online wagering, if they have online wagering in that particular state has been passed as legal. Some of them don't have it. New Jersey doesn't have it. I don't think New York State has it, but New Jersey does have it in the United States. So I'm imagining that your app, your thing is more for European. Is it a
correct? Correct. The first launch is UK and Europe. That's really where we're testing everything.
Well,
Um,
with your background in the Latino markets, shouldn't you also, you could probably do Argentina
oh, absolutely. I mean, we're looking at that as well. That's going to be, some of the things that we go after next. I mean,
right.
luckily, I've had a lot of experience working with Premier League back with FIFA. Worked a lot with UK markets, so it's pretty familiar with them as well.
Hmm.
Um, but I will tell you, in terms of betting operators, when this whole pandemic thing happened, of course, the first thing everybody like Bet365 and even Ladbrokes and Pat Power and all those guys immediately shifted towards FIFA. I mean, and it was beautiful because there was a lot of FIFA tournaments that started to come up right away, right? And
It's
we
not
were
just
all fought.
FIFA anymore. It's everything. It's League of Legends.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's Overwatch.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's all of them. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I want you to look into your crystal ball. So after the pandemic ends, and
Hmm.
hopefully we can have the CEC where I'm not going to say that coronavirus will be gone by the CEC. I'm just saying that maybe it'll be sort of dormant, and then we can have the CEC, and then after the CEC, if it wants to come back, it's more than welcome. Because I think by then we may have a vaccine.
Hopefully, yeah.
So we'll see. But how do you see, because of what we learned in the pandemic, how do you see things changing in the gambling landscape after this is all over?
Well, I think the betting operators that were able to you know, for lack of a better word, take advantage of this time to really look closely into the esports side will be thriving and will grow from there. Um, there's I can tell you, for us, we were lucky to be able to put all those resources, shift them into FIFA, and now a little bit into, we're also going into League of Legends and CSGO. But all our dev team, for example, went all into esports. Had we not done that, had that not happened, that was kind of like a silver lining, really. Had that not happened, I think, our resources would have been still mostly on Premier League and other sports, and then, just a little bit left on esports. And of course, that would not be enough to really kind of, uncover an industry that doesn't really have a president and enough data really to kind of like be able to thread on like other sports do.
Right. I mean, I recently just put out an article on LinkedIn. It's called "How Coronavirus Prevented the Esports Bubble." Because I could tell you that prior to the coronavirus and the pandemic, esports was having some trouble, I believe. Like there were teams that were, folding. Um, you know, um, what was it? Rick Fox's team went down. Um, other companies and works that were having a lot of trouble staying afloat, and I'm talking from the esports business side of it.
Yeah.
And that could give, and there was also, I'm sure that the casino people were, they get word of this too, that it's not stable. It's not stable industry. But I can tell you that because of coronavirus, because of the pandemic, it's really been thrown a lifeline like no other industry on the planet.
Hmm. I can see that.
And I think that from terms of entertainment, you have Netflix, you have your Amazon Prime, you can watch movies and stuff like that. But from any perspective, gaming is where it's at, because whether you're going to play a game like Skyrim or some kind of competitive game, video gaming is a source of entertainment. And when it comes down to the actual competitive side of it, now it's not only a source of entertainment, but it's also something you can bet on because it's competitive.
Right.
They had NBA 2K players, actual NBA players, playing each other on ESPN.
Yeah.
It was being shown. So, I mean, do you expect that there's going to be like after the pandemic, though, from the gambling side of things? Once the all the conventional sports come back, will it be business as usual and they're going to forget about esports? Or what do you see as esports having that place after this pandemic's over?
No, I think it'll definitely evolve after this pandemic is over. I think many betting operators have realized, not just that the potential there is, but they've realized that they can start to crack the code. And I think that was the biggest barrier to entry with a lot of these larger betting operators, that, you know, they scratch the surface, but then they realize it's a little more complicated than it sounds. And, you know, they leave it alone. Now they've had the time to actually, you know, go a little bit, you know, dive deeper into it. So I think that this will help in order to kind of like further and continue, you know, their efforts. I mean, I definitely see, even for, you know, I personally, like for my company, League of Legends, CSGO, all these titles were totally foreign to most of the people in our company. And now it's interesting to see them talk about markets for League of Legends and stuff like that, you know. So it's, you know,
Well,
this.
you're coming more from the esports wagering from online.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wanting to know. I know because you're that online marketing guy. I'm wondering, now that it's gotten such popularity and wagering on esports has arrived, and it's happening every day. How does the brick and mortar casinos integrate this once they're open?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I mean, that's, I guess it might follow a little bit of what, of sportsbook, of kind of how it did, you know, and I'm not sure how they're going to be able to integrate it, but I suspect, like, even, you know, big casino companies like, what's that, Penn Sports, or Penn, Penn
Penn
Gaming,
National?
Penn National Gaming. Yeah, exactly. Penn National Gaming. I mean, they recently bought Barstool Sports, right? They're definitely going into kind of the online gambling side, but they have some real estate in casinos as well. So I'll be interested to see how they're going to kind of combine the two. And then on the same with esports, on the brick and mortar side, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the MGMs and you know, and all and Sands and all those guys start to have like esports, you know, like salons or whatever, you know, like
Esports
esports
books,
lounges.
esports
Yeah,
lounges, and books. And I
yeah,
imagine that there's got to be something besides the wagering. They're also going to have peer-to-peer play. People can bet with one on against one
yeah.
another on console, things like that. So we're getting there. And so you're really thinking, because of the strength of video gaming and that entertainment on esports side of it, that we'll keep now. You know, God forbid we never have to close everything ever again like they
Mhm.
did. But I mean, if we ever do, at least the casinos will know that they have something that they can go to in a time where they cannot be open 24/7.
Exactly.
So, and so on that side, you know, you're talking about, you did Premier League, and you say you do. How do you think this phenomenon, this problem, the pandemic, will affect the sports betting industry moving forward?
I think it's going to go more online as well. You know, the same thing. For example, when Premier League starts, if it restarts, I mean, that's going to be decided on Friday. If it restarts, it's going to be in closed doors, behind closed doors, right? So all those people that were originally going to go to the stadiums, what are they going to do? Going to watch it at home, maybe at bars. I mean, they're talking now about a lot of broadcasters, because you know, in the UK they don't broadcast every game because they still kind of follow the old-fashioned way of, you know, trying to get people into the stadium. Now they're going to broadcast, not just broadcast more games, but have them online. They have a huge deal now with Sky, where Sky's going to offer a lot of these matches online. What's Sky going to do to that? Of course, they're going to have their betting operators right on top of that as
Do you
well.
think
So that's going to.
you see companies like Twitch getting into the fray of conventional sports since they're a streaming network?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, for example, Sky Sports has been thriving on Twitch since the pandemic as well, because Premier League, they're doing FIFA tournaments. This weekend's going to be the second FIFA tournament they do, where actual, you know, players,
Similar to the
footballers.
NBA, similar to what,
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
That's the thing, right? So, you know, they're broadcasting it on Sky. The finals, they're broadcasting it on Sky, but the rest of it is on Twitch. So you can go to the Sky's Twitch channel, Sky Sports, and watch these you know, watch these matches. Before, I don't think Sky had any much use for their Twitch channel, so that might give them more of a reason to start broadcasting traditional sports on Twitch.
Mm. So you know, what I also find interesting is, like, you know, there's a lot of talk of much more interactive types of entertainment, VR, AR, mixed reality. Do you see that being part of like the landscape, with the integration and now the popularity of esports growing rapidly in a pandemic? If those are the people that are wagering, those are tech people, those are people that like cool stuff. Do you think that VR could play a part in, pulling them the other way? In other words, if you want to go to a Premier League soccer match, strap on a VR headset, you like in the stadium.
Right.
It's seeing it live, but you're in the stadium, but you're not really in the stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see. I mean, that I've seen a lot of incredible VR like that. Like I've done stadium tours on VR. A lot of teams are offering that already. But in terms of having a match on VR, I think we're still, many, many years away from that. From many, from the technology side, it's still, pretty difficult to do that. And the technology, the broadcast side, and then of course, I don't know if you can justify all those expenses. There's against the demand. Is there going to be a demand for that? So I don't see that yet as being part of the equation. It will be probably in the future. It may or may not be, but at the moment, I think sports are going to just be more concentrated in getting back up. After this pandemic.
I said about 3 or 4 years ago. I said I didn't predict the pandemic, but I knew that if there was going to be wagering on anything in esports, it was going to start with the esport versions of conventional sports.
Yeah.
So more along the lines of FIFA, and and now they've pretty much have been forced to do and get involved in that, because there's nothing else. There's no conventional sports anymore. So now it's FIFA, NBA 2K, Madden. If there's no actual American football in the fall. So it's become a very, very strange world we live in. But this is it's been in the future. You're working on this app project. Do you have anything in the future that you are looking to do or you'd like to do? Or what do you see as a way that video gaming esports crossover between the two worlds of gambling and esports will have an impact moving forward beyond the pandemic?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can speak mostly for FIFA in this respect, and I see that crossover. I mean, definitely happening, and almost like having to happen for many reasons. I mean, the fact that the video game itself, the FIFA video game itself, increases viewership for actual Premier League, tells you something. People, and the viewership that it increases is not just in the UK, but it's mostly worldwide. Where here in the US, why would you really watch Premier League? Well, obviously the if you like soccer, the level is probably the best in the world. But then there's kind of the typical thing is like, well, if you don't know the teams, if you don't know the players, then it's not that fun. With FIFA, that's what FIFA took care of. When kids were playing, they want to choose the best teams, so they choose Man City, Man United, or Real Madrid or Barcelona. They start getting to know the players and everything, and before you know, they migrate from the platform to the television. Right. And so then, in terms of wagering, that both of those things will happen. You will know, you will be a much more educated wagerer for the actual Premier League if you know your stuff on FIFA, because player ratings quite well, chemistry, how the teams operate and all that. So you're like, okay, I can bet on on this guy or on this guy. So yes, absolutely. I think it'll increase the international, the global reach and for wagering on certain sports that were more localized.
So conventional sports in general.
Conventional sports. Yeah, there'll definitely be a crossover.
They have to embrace the video world, because
that's
the way to reach the younger audiences. To have those younger audiences be fans of Premier League or be fans of NBA or NFL or Major League Baseball or whatever it is in the conventional world. In order to introduce the game to them, we introduce it to them through video.
Absolutely. And the other way around, the same. To a lot of the generations of. I can see it happening again in Premier League when the season's over. If there's been now a crossover and it's become pretty common that they can bet on FIFA, and we know a lot of people like from the feedback that we've received that have never really bet on FIFA, but they were traditional Leicester City fans or whatever. And then, wait a second, I'm going to bet on Leicester City on the video game. All right, that's kind of cool. I can win a little bit of money maybe, or, it's fun. It's in depth, and it's very similar to the real game.
Right.
So when the season's over, Premier League season, when the season is over, they may very well go into the FIFA. They may, at least they'll pay attention that there are FIFA tournaments out there.
Great. So you've been working from work, I guess, the whole time. I mean, working from home.
Yeah.
It's gotta be tough. But I'd like to thank you for your time, Raul. I know that you probably ought to get back to work if you do. But let's all try to keep a schedule, even though we're quarantined. And it's rough, and it is a gorgeous day outside. And I know you'd want to go and take a walk, but you'd have to put your whole hazmat suit on, especially in New York. It's scary there. Stay
Where are
safe.
you based?
You should stay safe, and I hope to see you at the CEC in Las Vegas in September.
Yeah, in September, right? And where are you right now?
I'm in Connecticut, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not so bad here.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers are high, but it's
yeah.
Hopefully we can put all this past us.
Yeah.
Anyway, have a great day. Enjoy the
thank you.
day, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Well,
Thank
thanks,
you very
and keep
much.
me in the loop of this. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.